All right. Good afternoon. I'm back here. Power hour in 1 hour. Looking for a trade here. Once again, we did gap up actually, which is what I had predicted, but I was thinking we would gap up from 635 to 645 to fill that previous gap, but no, we just gapped up to 640, which is right here on that 100 SMA. We just totally rejected it right off the open. Gone sideways. Holding below the VWAP, we broke above, retested it, and then we ended up failing and breaking down to a new low a day here, which we just made recently, a new low a day, and we're kind of retesting the previous day lows here. So that's not a bad look for shorts here. What I will say is that there is no new developments, no positive, no real definitive developments over the weekend and coming into this week at all. If anything, it's still uncertainty and negative sentiment. So there's mostly just the same negativity or the same uncertainty in the market. If I'm just reading the room, it seems like the market is going to continue until we have some definitive price action. The VIX over 31 today, it's crazy. VIX is basically sideways from last week, but we're holding right here over this 30 that's really doesn't hold above 30 for very long. So the fact that we're still here above 30 on this daily candle, slightly concerning. Bitcoin still looks the same. Had a good run, but this bear flag is just kind of like a stair steps down here until it really confirms above here, or even really above like this area. This would be some form of a fair value on some chart, this area, space right here really. And that would coincide with the 100 SMA here. So until Bitcoin's back above 80,000, maybe 80, 85, this is just a downtrend. Looks like a head and shoulders on the 3-day, the weekly chart. We're below the, we're probably coming in close to this 200 SMA though. Which I don't have on the chart, but and that's about it. Oil's still holding above 100. This looks just like the VIX. That same thing here. Gold and silver pulling back, diverging. ES on the daily and SPY. SPY looks pretty weak, but the futures have this little area still. Futures are less weak for sure. It's a tough spot here. It really is. Because it's really not a ton of support besides there on the futures and whatnot, and the VIX being at 30, 31. But there's also not really any certainty. There's no positive developments, whether it's sentiment or with the conflict and everything else going on. And so that really seems to be the reason why we're just continuing to follow this downtrend, even with the slight gap up. I don't know if this was on any reason, if there was any reason for the gap up, but we ended up making a new low day, and down here 632, 633, we're losing that low a day right around here. We'll see if this continues, if it wants to pick up the pace a bit. I don't know, just kind of weird. Call. Okay, anyway, so right now we're breaking away from the range of the day and we're right below previous week low, the 633 level. So this is going to be important how it reacts here. If it does go lower, then it should be pretty obvious. I don't know if there's any other levels though. If I look at like the bigger chart, the bigger time frames. Previous all-time high before the dip in early last year. It seems like a similar kind of, it started in February and only lasted about a month. So this is just in March so far. We could possibly retest down here this week or next if it really continues to be bearish. That's probably the worst case scenario right here. Is a good spot right here if you see that. I think that's pretty solid. But that's just if we were to come down here more, than there's not many levels like 620, 625, and 630. It's really nothing significant, honestly. But this is the previous week low at 632, so definitely want to be a little bit patient right here and see how, if we're going to go lower, it should be obvious that we're moving towards 630. If not, then could be some type of fake out. We'll see if it consolidates or if it continues the downtrend. So many spam posts on Twitter. Terrible. Jim Cramer said last night, surprised that Sunday night futures are down so little. Yeah, they were flat. I figured the big gunners will come in and take them down 1.5% before we go to sleep. Yeah, right. Well, that's why we gapped up then. There it is. And fear and greed index is down to 10. Last week it hit a low of 11, I believe. I think it was at 11 last week. 11 to 14. 16 at the highest. Fear and greed index is down to 10. Down to 10. Only 3 out of 12 green weeks this year on SPX, which is apparently one of the worst in history. We started the year. Well, it's one thing to go down. It's one thing to go down 9 out of 12 weeks, but it's another thing to go down into or past correction territory. So we may be down in the first quarter of the year, but we're barely entering the 10% drawdown on SPX, the S&P. Okay. Nothing too bullish on the day. This first like couple hours of the market was really nonsense. It's kind of a hit or miss on Mondays, but it's just not any kind of trades that I would be looking for here. Would have been bad time trying to trade this. But I like the way this is setting up now. We're sweeping below the previous low at the end of Friday last week. Looks like a double bottom right here, but if this fails, then we might go down to 630 today, which would be, I think, the next level, to be honest. Like, there's not much of a level, just 630 and then 625. The problem is if it bounces here, then it's gonna be just difficult like this. Like, this may not be a clean opportunity for a trade. Still 45 minutes until lunch though, plenty of time. Meta's moving over to the subscription. Meta's leaning into the subscription service. Meta starts testing a premium subscription on Instagram. They're trying to make social media like Netflix, where you gotta pay monthly, and then you could finally like actually use it properly, which is pretty dumb. A lot of people pay for that, especially on X. And that's just pure cash flow for them. We're reaching the point where companies almost are forced to subscriptionize their products and services. They can't really, the value is changing because these products can be just created. So really what you're really paying for is just the quality and the capacity for the hosting in the cloud and the storage and whatnot. So it just seems like things are changing to where the way that products and services are marketed or the way they're packaged is totally different. Like a one-time purchase is becoming less common. Fear and greed index drops to 9. Yeah, we're getting there. Fear and greed index last year in April was a low of 4. And just like a month later, it went up to 67. And the market recovered the whole bounce. The market bounced and recovered the whole sell-off to new all-time highs. I'm not saying that's going to happen here necessarily, and we're not even there yet. I mean, a sell-off from 9 on the fear and greed index to 4 is not really calculable, but probably another 5% at least. Yeah, the VIX is red and it's up. The VIX is red and it's above 30 still. VIX at 30.50 and it's down 1.5% on the day. SPY's nearing low today. Here it's still at 633. Let's pull up the option chain, check it out. I haven't seen it yet. Oh, and when I do trade, if I do trade in Power Hour today, Power Hour's in about 30 minutes or so. I don't know if I would wait specifically for Power Hour, but if I were to take a trade today, it's probably just going to be, since it's Power Hour and it's Monday, and I feel like there's still a lot of uncertainty in the market, I'm probably looking to trade pretty small, like, to be honest, like max, like probably a $30 contract. And right now, the 631 put, which is, you know, like $2 out the money, is only 30 cents. 635 calls, 26 cents. So it's pretty reasonable, and my risk to reward on that would just be like 50% stop loss on that contract during Power Hour, just to make it easy. But it definitely depends on the chart. But my idea for today would be, I had a couple decent trades last week, so I'm looking to trade a little bit small here especially and specifically during Power Hour. SPY looks like it's going for that low a day here. I'm looking to trade small so that, you know, if we do get some weird choppy action or any reversal, then I could deal with or manage that volatility. So we'll see. I really got to catch up on this talk that Jerome Powell did, a talk at Harvard University talking to the students. I don't know exactly what about, but it sounds pretty interesting. I'm gotta re-listen to that. Here we go, new low a day, 632.50. 632, almost 632.50 right there. There we go, new low a day, breaking down this. We tried to go a little bit higher, we ended up stagnating. Then we broke supports, broke previous low of the week last week. Now we kind of double bottomed at that new low a day and new low of the year. Now we're going once again even deeper. From what I can tell, there's really no buyers in sight. I mean, we only had a few green candles here. We only had a few. This is the only kind of little bounce we had so far, and right here. This is looking pretty rough. See how the VIX is reacting here. So the 31.50, what is that exactly? 31.65. The VIX over 31.65 is when is some sort of a bear signal. A lot of people are saying they want to buy the dip here. Obviously, should be dollar cost averaging through this whole move, this whole time. Dollar cost averaging indefinitely. But as a trader looking for a day trade here, the VIX above or below 31 at least right here intraday is meaningful. Yeah, I like this here. Just a little bit too early for me to take the entry, but another one of the same examples here. And it's only 11:30, 2:30 Eastern time, but in a situation like this, for example, the 630 put is 20 cents. Right here at this low day, this 630 put is 19 cents, 20 cents. Very cheap, but it's very volatile. The low a day on the contract is 12 cents, while the high day is 85 cents, which the high day is pretty much irrelevant for the 630 put. But the low a day at 12 cents, being like a reasonable stop, if you were to enter like a 630 put here for 20 cents, you're risking like not even $10, which is not much, but it right here would be high risk because we're making a new low a day and we're even kind of bouncing a little bit on this 5-minute candle. But just as an example, that contract's down to 17, 16, but you would risk a small amount, and if this trend does continue, we do make it down to 630, then the risk reward on small contract, singular contract like that, in my opinion, is relatively worth it, as long as you're only going to buy one contract and as long as that one contract is enough for your account. Not too much risk. But yeah, so for example, you take a stop at like 12 or 10 cents, 50% on that contract. And it really would be considered like a lottery type of trade where you just buy the contract and risk like a good portion, at least 50% of that contract, to capture a bigger move intraday, or catch the out of the money to in the money move. we'll see if this downtrend does continue. I'm sure there'll be a better entry. The 631 put as well as back down to 30, 32. Went up to 40, back down to 30. Still a little bit slow. Hopefully we can get a big or good sized move, reasonable move to capitalize on in the last hour of the day, about 30 minutes from now. Monday's really slow, especially on a day like today where not really much developed over the weekend. Everybody's still totally uncertain, just as they were last week. We're barely breaking the previous week low. Really not the best to trade, but we are in a good downtrend, and it's somewhat respecting so far today. And it probably won't change until we do have actual positive developments or unique developments that are definitive. As right now they're talking about, I hear mentions about a tax being imposed on the strait before moves, and that's obviously no good. And that's been apparently that's passed today or yesterday, and there's a bunch of mentions and talk about sending thousands of U.S. troops over, pulling them over from Germany, something like that. And these are not kind of things that you want to hear if you want the market to bounce, especially when it comes to the oil prices, inflation, fear right now. So just gonna have to let the market develop, be a little bit patient this week. This week is the last week that I really have to trade the full week, because next week I'm going back to work. Took a good amount of time to work on some other things, and this next week I have to go back to work, and I'll be busy a couple days a week during Monday to Friday. So I'll be looking to trade probably 2 or 3 days a week and continue doing this. But you know, it's going to be a very patient, very discerning journey to develop this account, or whatever account I end up growing into a larger account. That's what I'm looking to do here. And I'm probably going to switch it up pretty soon. I have a couple ideas, but for now I just want to try to continue to remain disciplined and patient, and just execute where I can and how I do, and let it speak, and let the numbers and let the growth show the way. Okay, a little bit of a bounce there. 633 back above 633. We're bear flagging. See what happens here. Turnaround Tuesday. Who knows? Today's Monday. No way, somebody stole 12 tons of Kit Kats while in transit to our factory in Italy, destination of Poland. Wow. They broke into they broke they broke in and stole like a whole bunch of Tucker Carlson's out patches, some nicotine pouches like a couple weeks ago. And now they broke in and stole 7 tons. Is that right? 7 I guess they're talking about 7 tons of Kit Kats. That's nuts. How does that even happen? Kit Kats are not even good for you. All it takes is 10 people. No. All it takes is 100 people paying you 10 million and you're a billionaire. That seems like a lot though. 100 people paying you 10 million. That's nuts. It's probably easier to get 1,000 people to pay you 1 million. It's even easier probably to get 10,000 people to pay you 100,000 and so on. Crude oil at 102, up 3%. Do we need a Jim Cramer short report? I'm curious. Would that solve the problem? If Jim Cramer just came out and just dropped like a short thesis on the market. Because he misunderstands AI. Oh, that's pretty good news. Oklo, nuclear fusion reactor company, small reactor nuclear fusion company that I invest in, announced that they and Blakala and they announced an expanded partnership to advance fast reactor commercialization in the United States. They're copying my lingo though, because the rest of it says this collaboration brings additional investment, engineering, and aligned execution to accelerate progress. And then the last line says more coordination, more capability, faster path to deployment. That's pretty standard copy, but it almost sounds exactly like um, what I was talking about, I posted about NVIDIA's GTC, and it sounded exactly like that. Let me see, where is that? What happened? More opportunity in the market. No, yeah, right here where I had said watching the NVIDIA GTC event, more fabs, more racks, more chips, more efficiency. That's pretty standard. Fast reactor and nuclear fusion commercialization in the United States. $632.30, right by low day. I don't see enough momentum though for any trade. Like we're pretty much stagnating. No movement. Where's the movement? I want to see a little bit of momentum. I want to see a little bit of direction. Obviously, we're below the low a day in previous week's low. It seems like we're slowly downtrending, but we need to see more momentum and better entry. Crude oil on track for its highest closing price since July 2022. There's a new low a day, 632. Ran crude up to 112 now. $6.30 put is still 22 cents. That's crazy. Even right here. It did make a new low a day. The previous low day was 12 cents. Now it made a new low day of 11 cents, and it's back to 2023. That's interesting. It's tempting to go for like a 631 here, but it's a little bit more expensive. But I just don't know, like there's not really enough momentum or movement to go too far out the money, so if anything, I might take one that's just at the money. We'll see if there's a good entry presented. Right now it's not really a great entry, but this could be like a late entry, but it's a risky one to take here. 2.5 minutes on that candle. Let me see if I can pull up a level. Really, it's just this. It's that 630 level, really. It's really just a 630 level. From here, it's just a level right at 630. Okay, let's see. Should I go for it here or not? Got some room. It's just a bit of a late entry here. Not looking for anything yet. We do get like a close below 631.50 would be more useful. But this little candle right here that's making this new low a day. There's only 10 seconds left. We'll see. A couple green candles on the 1 minute chart. 632. All right, I'm focusing up on the chart. I like the way it's moving here, but see if we can get some momentum below 631.50. I think that's more of a signal that we're gonna move closer towards the next level at 630. I just don't want it to sweep here going in. We're 4 minutes from power hour. I don't want it to sweep here going into power hour and then bounce. I don't really see a good reason for the bounce, but it's only Monday. Anything could happen. See where we're at going into power hour in 4 minutes. We're getting a little bit of momentum here. Might go for a 631 if we do break below 6. We're just barely getting. Is this a 5 minute chart? Yeah, this is a 5 minute chart. 2.5 minutes on this candle. Okay. 631 put is 49.50 cents. 630 is 22.23 still. I like the $22 one because it's less risk, but with the one that's at the money, it's more worth it. All right, I'm gonna try to enter here. It's a little bit late entry. I don't think I'll get it. No, I did get entered in at 55. 631.50. All right, well, let's see. Took a 631 put at 55 cents actually. Let's see, kind of not the best entry here. It's already down almost 10 cents. All right, let's see. I may have to stop out of this one pretty quick here if we don't break that 631.50 again. We're getting a little bit of momentum below it, but this 1 minute chart is playing. Down $5 on 631 put at 55 cents here. If we get it below 631.50, we can get a nice flush towards 631 flat, which would be ideal. This momentum looks like it's definitely picking up here a bit. Let's see, can we break that low? What is it? 631.46. Let's see. I got my finger on the trigger though, because I might have to stop out of this one if we don't break that low right here. Down $10 on it. Pretty rough entry there, honestly. I'm already down over $10. Give it a little bit though. If I were to stop out, it's gonna have to be somewhere right here. Pretty much, honestly, over 632. If we really hold over 632, I'm gonna get out, but try to let it break this low a day if it wants to. I think it's not bad, but Just don't want it to get back above 632 because then it's kind of cooked. The momentum was starting to pick up there. We made that new low a day below 631.50, but no continuation there. See, rejecting the 9 right here. Rejecting the 9 EMA. Still down $5-6. We need to make a new low a day. See, the way that's moving slow, that's the reason why it's probably better not to take the cheaper contract, even though it's probably less risk. Like, the cheaper contract is 25 bucks. This one's 50 bucks, but it's almost at the money. The problem is we don't want this price action to be slow. Okay, we just entered power hour. See, this is where we kind of a bad entry because I entered right before power hour, and now we're kind of starting to bounce out. Yeah, might have to stop out. I'm already down like 12-15 bucks almost on a $50 contract, and it's bouncing. Yeah, right at the 9. Yeah, this is not good. So I don't really think it's gonna bounce much, but it definitely is not what I want to see. Almost made it up to the 21 EMA on the 9, right on the 1 minute right there. I don't really like this. Let's see. It's either gonna flush or it's gonna bounce for some odd reason. Still down $10-11 actually. Kind of feels like a lot, but trying to be okay with like a $20-25 risk. But as long as we hold below 632, I'm kind of okay with it, but we're getting close, so I don't know. We need to break a new low a day here for real confirmation right here. Okay, we're starting to get a flush. Okay, let's see, new low a day should come in. Okay, new low a day, we're at break even. What do you know? Let's see, I'm looking at the 1 minute chart so I could see if there's a good exit. If we get momentum down, just down to 631 flat, it's worth a good exit right there. Still break even. Made a new low a day, still break even here. Up $1. We need to go straight to 631 here. See is how weak is it? We put a candle in right there to low a day. It's already trying to bounce. These contracts are tricky to trade, for real. Like the momentum is like dying right here. Like contracts are not happy. We drop 50 cents though, we'll be at the money, which is really solid. So that's why this trade is pretty reasonable, because if we do drop another 40 cents from right here where we're at, we'll be at the money, which is really good. The other contract, the 630 put, would be $1 at the money still, and may not even gain that much. Like maybe it'd go up to 30 cents, maybe 40, and that's pretty good. It's like almost 100% on that, but the risk isn't worth it on that, even though the risk is either whether the contract is actually going to move enough or whether the contract is cheap enough to grant your risk to reward or give you the flexibility. So let's see, are we going to get some momentum here? I'm gonna look for an exit here if we do go a little bit lower. Only up by like $6-7, which is surprising. It's not much. We get out the money, this should jump pretty quick. My finger on the trigger. 10 cents off. Okay, let's see. I'm about to sell it. If we touch 631, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of this trade. All right, I'm gonna just get out right now. Only $14 profit. I definitely feel like it's worth it to hold, but 55 to 69, 9-minute trade. Pretty typical trade for me. Contracts at 75 now. I exited at 69. Funny enough. In the money by 10 cents. Contracts at 80 cents from 55. Not bad. That's my trade. It's over. I already exited. Okay, that's my trade. Just got to take a quick screenshot so that I can post it. Honestly, it's a good trade, but I really wish I felt more confident to hold longer, just because I do like this trade and it is playing out now, but we're in the money, which is great. That's where I want to be, is in the money on this trade. Only made 14 bucks. And my account went from $100, $100 flat to 113 and 49 cents now. It is what it is. Honestly, it's not much, but that's what it takes. The trade was a little bit of down. Where did I enter at? Entered at 1157, 257. So basically right here. Seems weird on here, but honestly it's in between. It's at the end of this candle here, or in between this candle. So this is the break candle, the breakout candle of this next low. We kind of went sideways, but then we ended up getting the confirmation. Now it's in the money by 40 cents almost, which is really solid. Contracts up to 96 cents. Contracts up to almost $1 now from 55 cents. So that's a really good trade, really good. I didn't make enough on it though. Like if I held it till right now, I'd be up 40, which is really ideal, but whatever. I made 14 bucks, which feels kind of like a slap in the face, but hey, that's what it is when I'm trading with a $50 account. Got to remember, I started with 50 bucks and my account's at 100 bucks this morning. So making 14 bucks is 14% in one single day, one single trade. Took me a couple hours, took me about an hour to wait, about 57 minutes, and took the entry right here. Seems like not much, but there's a reason why that worked. There's a reason why I had to take the exit pretty quick, because it's not worth being up on that trade and being correct and then taking a loss on it or breaking even, which could happen, and I'm just not looking to do that today. If I'm in profit, I'm gonna take it. I'm not gonna let a trade go back to break even or red. Contracts at $1.10. Still 50 minutes left in power hour, so not lunch, in power hour. So the next level is 630 flat, and then 625. And I'll have to pull that up so you can see if you want to see the chart. 625 level is right here. No. 625 is right. Why is it not on here? Is it a weekly chart actually? Yeah, I guess it's just that candle right here, the bottom of this. Not that level was really not. It looks different on Weeble. That's the thing. Well, over here, this is the level I'm looking at. It's 620. Yeah, 628, and all the way down to 620. Heading there pretty quickly. Crude oil over here is 103. So I'm not sure. Someone was posting about how it was 12 Brent crude. Well, this is WTI crude. I don't have Brent crude. That's why. Brent crude is at 112. So there is a difference there. The dollar index hitting a new high. Is this like a new yearly high? The dollar index is looking pretty extended. Contracts all the way up to $1.70 now. That's insane. Look at this. Wow. That's why you got to hold your trades. That's why you got to hold your trades. I got to turn this off really quick. Yep, so the contract now, entry at 55 cents is up to $1.55, almost hit, oh, I think it hit $2 right there. This is $1.30 in the money, very, very solid. This is, took the 631 strike. We could have took that 630 strike, still wouldn't win in the money, which is insane. Even that 630 put is up to a dollar there, so from 22 cents, so it's a really good move. So this was the right entry, this was the right trade. Very good day, really happy about that. Even though I only made 14 bucks, but the contract's up over 100 bucks. The trade is vindicated. Pretty clean. That 1 minute chart gave us a nice waterfall there. Was prepared. All right, so pretty chill. I'm gonna stay until the close though, because I want to see what else is going on in the market. I'm gonna look through the charts a little bit, try to feel it out for tomorrow, because tomorrow's gonna be more important. I think I'm gonna look to trade a little bit 30 minutes after the open, so from 10 a.m. Eastern to lunch. I think it'll be a better opportunity tomorrow morning, today afternoon. Samsung and Intel and AMD and Nvidia right above them, with Tesla. Tesla could join either side with the manufacturing and the fabrication of chips. It's huge. Fabricating chips in the United States is massive. No, I didn't mean to open that. Okay. All right, is that working? My audio cut out there. I opened the wrong program. Down to 630. All right. All right. mark up the chart now. Let me see. Right here. All right, that's not a bad chart. Not a bad trade, actually. That's why I don't like the early entry, because if I did take the early entry there, when I first had mentioned that 630, 631 put, would have had too much drawdown, I think. I had to wait for more of confirmation that the direction was right and the momentum was there. Volume was picking up. And we had to confirm below a new low, at least on the 1 minute. Oil over VIX chart, gold over oil chart. Spies at new daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly lows. We're at the low of the year, in other words. And if a trade is a defensive prediction, then investing is an offensive position. And if investing is an offensive position, then a trade or trading is a defensive prediction. Just something I came up with yesterday. Let's see, any news, or is there anything happening? What's going on? There's some low-key news this morning that Apple Intelligence is rolling out in China, which is really interesting. And I've been talking about this for a while. I think Apple is working on something, and I think that they do have their WWDC event coming up. But Apple's got to some I think Apple's got some things to make up for in terms of technology or AI specifically. And they also apparently Apple kicked a vibe coding app out of the App Store, escalating crackdown, or they're cracking down on vibe coding. What's up with that? What's wrong with vibe coding? Apple's probably, if Google has Gemini and OpenAI has ChatGPT, Anthropic has Cloud, and Perplexity has Perplexity AI, then there's something missing there. And even X has Grok. There's something missing, which is Apple. Even Microsoft, well, Microsoft has Copilot. So every single company now has their inside model, proprietary model. And so Apple's probably going to drop something soon, maybe even at the WWDC event in a couple months in July, and that's probably when the stock will finally react in a positive way, which it's been pretty stagnant for a while. Let me take a look at Apple stock really quick though. I think it's been pretty dead for a while. See on the weekly chart. I mean, it is actually trending higher here. That's actually, it's not. I was thinking this whole trend higher was more sideways, but no, this is actually. I mean, this is an uptrend. If you look, that's an uptrend right there on Apple. I mean, this is a 2-week. This is a monthly chart. I mean, yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, since 03. Isn't that amazing? 97, this is the dot-com bubble in Apple. Highs of $1.34. Look at that. What is this? I mean, Apple at 5 cents in 82, 87, 85, 87. Big run. Flash crash, and the dot-com crash as well right here. They're saying this is what the dot-coms did, and then this isn't AI. You know, AI is literally, if you want to be real, AI starts right around here. So if this is, you know, the onset of the internet, and then the dot-com bubble 3 years later, and then we crash like what, 50% more, that's a lot. 42%, 50, that's insane. We dropped like 80%. I mean, that's insane. I mean, this whole move is nothing. This has nothing to do with AI. None of this has anything to do with AI until right here. So if you just keep that in mind, we're so far. This is so far extended from the 100 and the 50 on the 3. This is a 3-month chart, but I mean, just for example, that's just crazy that AI was introduced right here, and this is barely done anything. I mean, what is that? It doesn't show me the measurement here, does it? No. Yeah, so the effect of AI on the market and the AI boom is mostly you see it in Nvidia. You don't really see it in Apple, but that's the thing that I'm saying is Apple is behind in a lot of ways. The 3-month chart on Nvidia. I mean, this thing, it did something very similar price action here, almost the same, basically the same, except this is 10 years after Apple made its move in 2003. This had a whole different move here in 07, 08 that Apple didn't really seem to have quite as big of a reaction to. That's because Nvidia was misunderstood at this time. Even here, but I mean, they understood something about this. This is well before ChatGPT or OpenAI was popularized over here, right here in 22. So this move right here, this is this is the move of Nvidia since the public has been really onto it. I mean, this is a logarithmic chart, so it looks crazy, but that's from $12 to 200. That's 1,000% move on this. But it's not like that hasn't happened several times over and over. SPY down to 629.50. Wow, $1.50 in the money from the contract that we traded very well. Yeah, so to be honest, I think Apple's gonna start putting in a bigger move soon. Obviously, a lot of it comes down to their bottom line and their profitability, cash flow. So I have to look more that way. Wow, what a move! Almost down to 629. Wow. $30 minutes till the close. The Fed could gradually reduce by a point over a year. That's 4 cuts. Right? They're still talking about cuts, and the cuts is what need to happen. The only reason why anyone's pricing in any rate hike is just because uncertainty itself. It's not like a real mathematical formula. It's just the uncertainty is skewing the numbers. Same thing with gas prices, inflation, and everything else. Really, it's going to follow through in a later tail. Oil prices closed above 100 for the first time since 22. Confirmed. Someone said I'm trying to put in the bottom with a bunch of bearish tweets. Yeah, I'm just gonna put my post out asking about a Jim Cramer short report. Then it falls in line. Getting a little bit of a bounce, first relatively decent bounce on the 1 minute chart. We're right at the 21 EMA though, so nothing significant yet until we go above 630. I do this one here. Interesting. To be honest, these last 3 days, this downtrend is starting to confirm. If you look lower and lower and lower, just like a stair, almost like a staircase. We're either getting the confirmation of a deeper dip. You know, if this is 10% here, then we're maybe 15 to 20 at the most, and that's just based on just extended fear in the market that just lasts longer. Or we're putting in a bottom here soon, hopefully. Ideally, we bounce and we start heading back up, at least in the short medium term, because the sentiment is getting more bearish each day, honestly. But the more that I look at the timeline, the more that I see the news, it just feels a little bit more bearish each day. And it's pretty obvious when you look at the chart, that's what it's saying as well. It aligns perfectly with the sentiment. S&P 500 futures erase all gains and turn red on the day, now down over 100 points from the pre-market high. We gapped up about 0.5% on SPY. Good one. 25 minutes till the market closed. Let's just see, really just gonna see if this momentum continues, see how we close. See what happens into the close. Right now it's really boring. It's honestly nothing happening. There's a green candle on the 1 minute up to the 21. It's just the same thing. Still not above it. Over 630. Could put in a bounce. But if not, we're already below 630, so we might be heading towards 625. Or no, that 628, 620. Whoa. What's that sound? What's that sound? Oh. There we go. All right, give me a sec. I gotta go real quick. Gonna go get some water. Oh, there we go. I accidentally kept the microphone on, so you probably heard the toilet flush. Had to go pee real quick and then get some water. See, and my screen froze too. I don't know why. Let me fix that. There we go, putting in a bounce over 630. Some kind of a bounce. See if this bounce is gonna hold at all. I suspect it may hold for the last 20 minutes. There's only 20 minutes left in the day. Maybe this will hold and then go back again tomorrow, fight the trend. We're not fighting the trend though, we're actually following it. See if it continues. All right, we're probably gonna hold this bounce into the close and then see how it gaps overnight, because we have a lot of the price actions happening overnight. See if there's any news. Pretty solid trade today, only a $14 profit, but the trade went, I think, over 200% from 55 cents on the 631 put all the way up to as high as, I think, I don't even know, probably at least $2. The last time I checked, it was at the high was $2. But I took it off at 69, only took a $14 profit. Just wanted to get in and get out. Didn't want to risk. I initially was going to take a cheaper contract and reduce the risk in power hour, but I took one that was at the money because I don't want to risk being out too far out the money when the momentum isn't really there. But we ended up getting that move all the way in the money by over $1, actually like almost $2. It's really solid. So I got to keep that in mind for the next trades that I do take when we do get confirmation. Try to do my best to avoid taking profits quickly and letting the trade play out a little bit more, and just be willing to have a stop or set a stop on my broker Thinkorswim. That way I can capitalize on those moves, and that's really the goal. But it's a little bit difficult now because my account's still only $100, up to 114 today. So I don't have a lot of room for error, a lot of room for mistakes or drawdown. So that's why I'm kind of playing it the way I am, trying to be in and out quickly, waiting very patiently for entries that have multiple layers of confirmation. And a lot of it is based on sentiment as well. I'm reading the room with reading the room is in, everything that's happening, world news, geopolitical news. financial news, company news, and just general economic data and financial data sets. And just using all of that to determine and coordinate my entries and exits to be in line with the trend and in line with the momentum and sentiment. That way I can increase my probabilities and reduce my risk, also expanding my room for error as I increase my account, because the trades that I'll take will continuously become smaller and smaller portions of my actual total account, which itself reduces risk, and that's really the key to sustaining an account and growing it. And I probably won't really get there until the account really passes 500 to 1,000, because until then, a lot of the trades that I take will be, it's a significant portion, 20, 30, 40, 50% at the highest of my account from here forward, which is just me trying to protect the initial capital at the minimum and protecting the profits at the maximum. So I'm trying to stay balanced in there with my risk management and with my entries and exits, and whether I trade or whether I don't trade, and the sessions that I trade. Well, I'm only trading New York session, but when I say session, I mean the morning session, the first 2.5 hours until lunch versus the last 2 hours of the day. Those are the two sessions that I trade. First 2 hours, the last 2 hours before lunch or after lunch. And I just stick with that, and I feel it out based on the chart overnight and in the morning, and I determine whether I'll trade, whether it makes sense, whether the opportunity is there. And I try to spend a good amount of the time while I'm on stream really just reading news and reading Twitter, determining what's really happening and what's moving the market, because that's what's most important. The chart is one thing, but what's actually moving it is actually, I think, more important than just looking at the chart and staring at the chart and determining every single candle that happens. The candles really don't matter. Like I said a couple of weeks ago, or I think last week, not every single candle matters, only the ones that you act upon do. And that's kind of my motto with day trading or looking at the markets here, at least right now, is less focus on the charts, more focus on the sentiment, reading the room, understanding what's happening in the world and what's really moving the market, and all the data and the factors like that, like inflation and fear and uncertainty index. And tomorrow we have the jobs report. Things like that are really important, and the oil prices, and a lot of things right now are very uncertain. Specifically, the VIX is above 30. Actually, VIX is above 31, which is becoming a problem. The VIX closes above 31. That's the first time in quite a while, maybe even over a year, 2 years. I have to check that out really quick. I'm interested though, because the VIX over 31 here, a close above 31. If this happens today, then we haven't done that since right here, since April, the bottom of last year. When we bottomed last year, it was April 2025. The VIX closed at 52, opened the next day at 50, and that was the bottom. Just for context, but this move right here is, I think this move on the VIX, the way that it's accumulating here ever since the beginning of this year, is unique, and it's different than, if you look back on the chart, it doesn't typically do this type of accumulation of uncertainty. And now we're about to close above 31, which is actually very, very surprising. The weekly chart. Yeah, this is at the onset. We had a gap up to 35 on the VIX, but that really was insignificant. It's more significant that we're holding and we're above 30, 31. We're at a very high level if you look at the last 3-4 years on the VIX. So just based on the VIX, within a range of like 15 to 25, and us being outside of it, I'd like to think that we're getting closer to the bottom, but we may see some extended uncertainty or a bigger move down what was that? But yeah, I mean, since 1990, it's quite an interesting chart. Really is quite an interesting chart, I will say, the VIX chart. Bitcoin. All right. All right, so about 10 minutes until the market closes. Getting a little bit of a bounce back over 630, 631. I gotta finish writing this essay today. Been working on for a couple weeks now. I'm gonna finish it today. I've been working on writing about an essay per month lately, just on economics and finance. Just something that I'm working on that's totally separate. It's just a side project. So I see opportunity in the market. I seen a post actually that I want to mention because I think it will possibly hold true, is that we're going to look back at the year 2026 as the year when every business was up for grabs. And that means that, you know, every business has the opportunity to be rethought of and reconstructed and reoriented with AI and with artificial intelligence technology. A lot of businesses, a lot of platforms, a lot of products and services can be entirely rethought of and reinvented in a new way and simplified, making it more customizable, more useful, and more engaging or whatnot for the future. And so a lot of businesses right now, they're have an open opportunity for people to come in and start something fresh, something unique and more useful and simplified. So I think the market's pretty wide open with the way technology is moving. And if you look at that 2001, the way the market moved there and the way that we've barely reacted, even on NVIDIA, barely. I mean, we've done like 1,000% on NVIDIA since 2022. I think that was something around there. But basically, the reaction that we've had to this new technological advancements isn't really manifesting in the market as much as people want to think, or as much as people believe it has. I personally believe that it hasn't even really begun yet in a big way. A lot of people are worried about a market pop, a bubble, but I think that it's likely that the market goes way higher into 2030 before we see any type of real fear of a bubble pop that's specifically having to do with AI itself in the capex and the data centers that people are worried about. The efficiency of the chips and inference is something that people worry about will render some of the energy and some of the compute as useless or devalued. But if you think about electricity, it's really an infinite game, and same thing with AI. It's an infinite game. It's not gonna, the bottlenecks aren't gonna last. There's always going to be an extreme, almost infinite demand, and I think that will probably show up. And the most interesting thing is if companies like Intel and Tesla can really, even NVIDIA and AMD and maybe others, that can actually start to manufacture and fabricate chips and real high quality technology that we now import will be huge, and if the value that we can gain from that as a whole, as an economy, would be massive. Companies like MU, Micron have some ins with places like Taiwan and the Taiwan Semiconductor, their monopoly. Eventually something's going to have to happen there with Taiwan manufacturing and how we rely on it so much. But I think the market is just in a lot of different places right now, and it's less focused on technology and AI and stuff right now, more focused on geopolitical tensions and stuff. So that's why we're getting this downtrend. That's why it's continuing, because until that ends, nothing else really matters that much. So that's just the way the market's moving here. That's just the way it's going to continue till we get definitive closure or positive news or positive developments. And for now, it's just the same. Nothing has changed yet. Pretty solid bounce here, almost up to 632. We held that low. Excellent trade today, I will say. A little bit of drawdown at the beginning of the trade, but it's honestly a really good trade. I'm pretty good, happy about that. Look for an even better opportunity tomorrow, to be honest. I think it was a really good trade, but I think that tomorrow, hopefully we can get better movement on the market, because today we just kind of went sideways and ended up just trending down into power hour, really into the last 20 minutes of the day here. Last 30 minutes of the day we're bouncing. 5 minutes till close. Pretty solid balance in the close, though. Not fun. It's pretty good. Kind of expected that. We're gonna bounce into the close. It's gonna be on a Monday. If we're gonna sell off into the close, it's gonna be on a Friday. So just remember that. You look at the last 2 Fridays, and you could tell me what happened. Today's Monday. I can't say what happened last Monday. I mean, probably look back. I don't know. Just, probabilistically. Maybe it's just a theory I have but every given week in the market, obviously depending on outside circumstances, but generally the theory is that going into the market on Monday, the crowd generally has optimism, the market opening back up and opportunity presenting itself. And going into the weekend, it's just the opposite, where the uncertainty, whether it be significant at any level, it comes in at some fundamental ground level. And that's why a lot of people will exit positions going over the weekend. People don't swing over the weekend, or investors will make decisions just before the weekend. But it's just a general theory that there's slight optimism going into every week, and then slight optimism fades away exiting the week, just at a basic level. But obviously that can be skewed in any which way, given the real sentiment outside of the market and in the real world. SPX down 0.4%, NASDAQ down 0.7%, Dow Jones up 0.1%. Basically a flat day. Pretty much flat. Right, the market's about to close. Meta, PayPal, Adobe, Palo Alto Networks, some of the only names green today, mostly red. Red across the board, a lot of names today in the market. There's the market close. Ding, 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 ding. All right. Well, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and go get some lunch. And then I'm going to go do some writing. I got some more things to do. Hope everybody had a great day in the market. I'm going to hopefully have a great week. It's going to be great. All right. Have a blessed day.